Alright, let me start the video off by saying to all the baseball players out there, Uncle understands your struggle. He gets it, you know? He understands what it's like to work under the grueling sun, to be the best you can be at what your chosen profession is, you know? To slave away the never-ending grind of baseball training. He gets it. He understands. Welcome back to the channel today, guys. And man, it's really been 2 weeks since we've had Uncle from Another World, huh? It's been kind of wild. I've missed this show a lot. And I'm so happy it's back. And we got story in this episode. What? We actually got the plot. We actually, for the first time, got some plot in this show. I was shocked watching this episode, like, wait, what? Actual story? So let's get in and talk about Uncle from Another World. Episode, 5 today? I think it's 5. And while we're on the topic of baseball, Uncle says, you know, baseball has a lot of dangerous terminology, unlike other sports, you know? There's a lot of, like, dangerous sayings in baseball. You know, and as they're talking about that, Uncle just casually lets slip, you know, I was almost assassinated one time. It's like, wait, what? What? Excuse me? And of course, we project his memories onto the screen. And who should we run into but our ice girl herself, Mabel. Now, Mabel isn't exactly too happy with Uncle right now. You see, because he killed the Blaze Dragon in the previous episode without sealing it with the freezing god sword, it relieved her of all her duties, which means she essentially doesn't have a purpose anymore. And she's not too happy about that, to say the least. So she's actually been trying to kill Uncle this whole time, and she finally got a chance where he's alone and she can do it. But instead of fighting back, Uncle actually lets her tackle him, and they start talking a bit. But as she's hovering over him, about to kill him, Uncle says, or she asks Uncle, why don't you draw your sword? Why aren't you defending yourself? And Uncle tells her that, you know, through my experiences, I've seen a lot of things. Obviously talking about video games. But he says, I don't believe you mean to kill me at all. In fact, you don't look very good. Have you been eating properly? And in this instance, her hostility kind of fades away a little bit. And we see the real her in this instance. And she's very vulnerable, very, I guess you could say, in a bit of a bad situation right now. Tells him, you know, I know you ended up saving the village. And then she ends up passing out right there. And Uncle's literally looking around like, what the hell do I do? He's like, I can't just leave her here, but she did just try to kill me in literal cold blood. And he ends up taking her back to the inn with him, literally dragging her along, which is just like him, of course. And it's here at the inn, when Mabel wakes up again, that we get another installment of Life Sessions with Uncle. One of my favorite parts of the show. Where he starts asking her, all right, what happened? I thought you wanted to be a hermit back in your home. And she tells him that, you know, after you did all that to the village, they ended up cutting my tree down and said I had to provide for the village, and if I couldn't, I'd be the village pet. And I'm just sitting here like, wow, other worlds are really shitty, huh? They're gonna make her the village pet and cut down her house. Like, okay. And Takafumi's expression just completely says it all in this situation. So Mabel does what any sensible person would do in that situation when they're being ostracized by the people around them. She freezes their feet solid, sticks cold water down their backs, and then runs away. Common sense. And Uncle says, man, you really hate the work that much, huh? And she says, yeah, you know, working at a flower shop, working at a bakery, messing around with stuffed animals in a place like that. All that's too much work for me. And Uncle's like, you know, I know how you feel. Working in an office, wearing a suit, doing a 9 to 5. I don't think I could ever handle that either. And then he tells her that that's why I became an adventurer over here when I came to this other world, you know? Because it pays pretty well, and it's the best way to be able to find my way back home. And Uncle's trying to cheer her up a bit. He's saying, Mabel, if you don't want to work, I'm sure there's plenty of things you could do that could make some money. Why don't you use the God-freezing sword yourself to try to make some money? And of course she's hesitant because her clan for 400 years has been the guardians of this weapon to pass it down to an heir. But now that Uncle's kind of killed the dragon and kind of made her purpose useless and irrelevant, she doesn't have anything to do. And he tells her that, Mabel, at the end of the day, this is your life. You have to make your decisions in it, you know? If you want to use this sword for your own benefit, you have every right to do so. And she recites Uncle's catchphrase along with him, that the power to carry through is strength. And all jokes aside, that's honestly like a really good quote. That's a really good quote that you would not expect from Uncle. And, you know, it kind of perks her up a bit. And she explains to him that, you know, the seal of ice is wrapped around my heart now. So until that can be thawed, I'll never really be free. I'll still be in this situation. Maybe if I become an adventurer and fix my personality, that'll kind of help thaw out my heart a little bit. And then Uncle starts saying, no, that's not true. That's not the case at all. I think you're great the way you are. And he just starts berating her with compliments. And you can see she's loving it the whole time. And then we can see the cracks in the sword already starting to form. Just showing how easy it actually is to thaw her heart. I should say, not art. And it's here that she notices the ring on her hand when she's embarrassed by Uncle. And he's like, oh yeah, I put that on you when you were sleeping, by the way. You can probably sell that ring and have enough money for the rest of your life. And he did it again! He did it for a second time, bro! He unintentionally proposed to someone for the second time in this show. Uncle's ridiculous, man. He can be so smart but so stupid at the same time. And of course she's like, no, I can't accept this, please, I can't. I don't think of you that way. And then Uncle's like, no, I insist, please, you have to take the sword. And of course she's acting like, no, I can't accept this, please, I can't. But we see in the background her sword is completely thawed out already, meaning her heart was melted like that. And Uncle's like, no, please, there's only 7 of these cosmic rings in the whole world. Please, this is a token of my appreciation. And he insists that she takes it and puts it back on her hand. And she's like, wait, I rejected him, didn't I? Like, didn't I tell him no? Like, what's going on here? And she starts freaking out to herself. And Uncle is insisting that she keeps it. And she's warming up to the idea more and more. And she's thinking things are about to get kind of heated. She's going to be thawed in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. Because Uncle's a weirdo, man. She says, you know, maybe I should go clean myself off after all. And Uncle's like, you don't smell. I don't think you smell. I think you smell kind of nice. And it's so awkward and weird. But then he's like, you know, if you're so worried about money, like I said, you can just sell the ring. And all at once, her heart is frozen again, the sword is frozen again, and she is pissed hearing that. And her and Uncle start fighting to the death. And it's here that Elf is actually in the same building, in a different room. And she comes barging in like, what are you doing in here, you know? Why are you making all this noise? If I have to, I guess I'll sleep in here with you. And we get pretty wild scene where Uncle is literally pinning Mabel down, restraining her with the chains, and he's on top of her trying to calm her down, and Elf is like, what the fuck is going on? She's furious, like, oh, he turned me down, and then he did something like this, and then she notices the ring on Mabel's hand. She's like, oh, I see, this is how it is, huh? So she cuts the chains on Mabel, and Mabel ends up freezing Uncle completely solid in that instance. And then the two girls kind of bond right then and there, you know, like, good job, thank you, you too, I'm glad you're safe, oh, thank you. And that is the story of how Uncle was almost assassinated. It's ridiculous as you might think. But as they're listening on, actually, Mabel starts saying some really interesting things that even took me by surprise watching. Like, wait, we're getting actual plot? We're getting an actual story? Wait a minute. Her and Elf are talking in the room still while Uncle's frozen. But because he's there, he still perceives it, even if he didn't personally hear it. And he overhears her saying that he said he was from another world. Maybe he shares the blood of the Ice Clan runs through him. He is a transferee from Japan Bahamut. And Takafumi, Fujimiya, and Uncle are like, wait a minute, what? How does she know about Japan? And as we dive deeper into Mabel's story, it's revealed that the original clan leader for the Ice Clan was someone from Japan Bahamut 400 years ago. He founded the clan. He was brought over from Japan into this world, and he spoke to a god when he got there. And the god asked him, you are allowed one thing here. I will grant you one request here to make this hellish world easier. And the god said, I want a sword that can kill, or the person from Japan said, I want a sword that can kill you. And that's how it was found out. And Takafumi, of course, is sitting there like, this is the isekai stuff I'm more used to. I love this. But then Elf, of course, has to come in and break the exposition saying, yeah, okay, I know the story already. He got the sword, he went to a shrine, fell in love with the shrine maiden, he broke the seal on the sword, and then he sealed the dragon, yada yada, the end. And Mabel's just absolutely crushed. Like, telling this story was the only thing I was living for. And Takafumi's just like, she spoiled it! She spoiled the best part! And it's here that Uncle starts getting pissed off, like, yo, I didn't get a magic weapon like this. I didn't get a special ability when I came into the world. I didn't talk to a god. What the hell, man? And Takafumi's like, no, that can't be true. Let's go back to your memories from when you first came to the world and see what happens. It's a bit of a struggle. They find some precarious situations that Uncle has been in over his years, but they eventually do. And it turns out that his body was actually just created in this world. Like, he was a skeleton and he was given life, I guess you could say, in this world. His body was remade. And the second he got to the world, he was beat the hell by these adventurers, man. They just absolutely beat him up no matter what he did. And in this moment of him getting completely and utterly curve stomped into the dirt, he did hear a voice, actually. And Fujimiya points that out, like, wait, I do hear something. Turn the volume up real quick. And we do hear that a god was talking to him in that moment. But they were talking in a different language than him. It sounded like either Chinese or Mandarin. To me, is what it sounded like. So they end up using text-to-speech on Takafumi's phone to translate it. And it's kind of like an automated message saying, I will grant you power. Tell me one thing that you want. Meaning that they do this quite often with people. And Uncle, in his desperation, made a wish unknowingly, saying, I wish I could understand these people so we could figure this out. And it turns out his special ability that he was given when he was brought to this world was the gift of language. He can talk with every species now, I would imagine, because of that ability. But man, Uncle's had it tough, man. Even after he's able to communicate with them, they're like, oh, they sold me off because they thought I was a rare breed of orc that could talk. I sold for 3 bronze pieces. Like, what the fuck? Man, Uncle had it so rough to where the point that Takafumi and Fujimiya are like, all right, I need a break. I need a break. I need a cup of coffee. Let's take a breather here. And they end up taking a breather, and that's how our episode ends. Like, we actually got some story in this episode. I'm curious, how do the people in the other world know about Japan? You know? Obviously, Mabel said that the person who created the Ice Clan was from Japan, but how does that work, per se? I'm curious about that. So any of you all that read the manga, don't spoil me, but kind of let me know a little bit in the comments. I'd appreciate that. But yeah, it's so good to have this show back, guys. I've missed it so much. 2 weeks was a long time without it, but it's finally here. We got more ridiculousness, and we got a bit of story today. But until next time, guys, have a great day, week, month, and year. And remember, if you freeze a nice girl's heart, or if you thaw a nice girl's heart, I should say, don't freeze it back up again. You're going to be kind of screwed. I'll see you guys next time.